I've noticed with I
Tell
watched
me.
a little bit of your interviews, is people
Okay.
like to try and be as funny as you are, and then they'll interject, and I'm like, no. You let this train go and you just ride it.
I mean, it just really depends on the mood that I'm in, but that really, I mean, that goes for any moment, whether it's an interaction I have with someone in a store, at a trunk show, at an event, in an interview.
Yeah,
Um, it is nakedly and engorged authenticity.
sure.
And in that moment, it is what it is in that moment. We're going to
Yeah,
share a human moment, and I'm
exactly.
excited to do so on your show.
Yeah, I think so many people are obsessed with capturing moments now that they don't live in that moment.
I
And I think
mean,
that could be a problem.
life is a beautiful tapestry of moments. It is a
Yeah,
quilt,
sure.
like a fine homemaking lady would have made for the residents in the late 1800s to keep their family warm. This is life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a series of stories all strung together, and you get to live it or you can watch it on the sidelines.
Fuck, man. Living it's fun. I'm not gonna lie. Put some
I
road
agree.
miles on you real quick.
Oh
But
yeah.
at the end of the day, I'd rather look like a book that was read many times than one that just sat on the shelf, I guess.
Oh yeah. You can tell who's
So,
going to be interesting based off of what they. I mean, the wear and tear on them as a person is stories.
yeah, man. I mean, it is. I mean, everybody's got their own path, right? And then
Sure.
again, and then every individual, because they are individuals in every sense of that word, they all internalize um, all the things that they take and absorb from that journey in their own way. They all react to things different. I mean, this is the human condition, right?
Oh yeah.
So, and as you and I are connected by the combustible rod component of our business,
Sure.
this is the perfect conduit to share with other like-minded people and discover like-minded people that you didn't initially anticipate if you were the book by its cover type individual, which I
Sure.
am not, but many are. I know that this is kind of a standard way for folks to behave.
Yeah.
Not so much in this world, though. I think
Yeah.
that cigar smoking, um, I think the cigar smoking deletes a lot of that process, and that's
Yeah.
yeah,
I love how unapologetically you are in a fairly judgmental industry that we're in, and I think that's what part makes your whole brand so great is that it's you no matter what.
are we judgmental?
I think so. I think more towards the younger side. When you walk into a shop, people are they're seeing what you're getting, and there's a lot of like this is the great bringer of together. But I think there's a lot of judgment as far as what you're smoking, who you're smoking for, why you're smoking, what you're doing. I wish it was a little more embraced. I think it depends in pockets, but I think as a whole, you know,
I mean, that could be more true for the younger internet culture
could
that
be
has come to the business because
sure.
old school, like I built our brand. Well, I've built this brand in tobacco almost three different times, three different chapters of its lifespan, right? And
Yeah,
in the beginning, I mean, I would describe it as I was like a 1952 door-to-door vacuum salesman,
yeah,
and I went account to account, customer to customer, handshake to handshake, interaction to interaction, and I built with human currency the brand in and refreshingly in a space that welcomed that science because I was coming from other spaces that everyone can claim to have a relationship based business and human connectivity and relationship are a currency that I think at the end of the day will never be able to be completely deleted or replaced. Refreshingly for those of us that are pleasant to fucking be around, and I, by the way,
sure.
as you know, I'm fucking delightful. Uh,
Amazing.
but at the time that was the only way to do it.
Yeah,
And
relationships. You had to build that.
yeah, and at this point, the landscape's completely different. I've lived through 3 or 4 cigar lifetimes because a
You're
cigar
right.
lifetime is 3 to 5 human years, basically, from what I can tell from my experience in the industry.
Interesting. Do you think we're in one of those kind of prime eras right now, or is it something that we're building? You think that could be changed?
I mean, I think it's been prime and building the entire time. I just think it's been chapters, right? Like when I started, it was at the very beginning of what I personally refer to as, and I think that people that were active in the space at the time would agree, was the golden age of the boutique brand movement,
Okay.
really. Um, and I think at that time, a lot of us were, running around like manic rape robots trying to build our businesses and not really looking so much in the peripheral and definitely not in the rear view, but a couple years under our belts. And, if we look back over our shoulder, I think we would have had to have made note that we were carving out an entirely new segment of this industry that didn't exist previously, as a small cast of characters. And that foundation that was built at that time gave entree to, a whole slew of newcomers to come after that. I mean, of course, there are many ebbs and flows in between all of those
Sure.
points, right?
Yeah.
So I think the business keeps building. I see trends repeating themselves with a different little bit of tonality.
Yeah. Same
Different
shade,
shades,
different rapper. Yeah.
different shade of the same, colorway. I don't know how to say that, but
What defined a boutique brand? Because I'm not super familiar with all the different definitions that people go through with this whole thing.
Well, look,
What
dude,
makes you boutique?
I mean, now they have adopted. I think for a while the word craft adopted that from the spirits industry, really. And I think all are meant to. I think idealistically, it's meant to represent a brand that is, the manufacturing is held to a more stringent, lower quantity, higher quality type mentality. To me, it's just always been a brand that didn't look traditional, because that's really what people were talking about. They were talking about brand aesthetics.
Sure. So that you came in with your
Mm.
style and kind of just mix. I mean, because you're wildly different than most cigar, even just in general wrappers, boxes, everything than what you traditional see with a cigar.
Well, man, I mean, at the time, it was very different. As years went on, a lot of other people, I've seen many different adoptions and adaptations of a lot of core style direction, creative direction that I've afforded my products, that friends of mine in the industry have afforded their products. So it starts to become, the water starts to become a little less clear, as if you weren't really there at the time moves very quickly.
Yeah.
And so you don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg. But I see a lot of adaptations and I'm going to say tribute products to a lot of the but at the same time, always with a little bit of an individual twist, right? And this is what we're talking about. We're talking about evolution and, all of this, whether some of us like it or not, we are woven together.
Definitely.
And genetically in the advancement of this business and this, especially the segment of the market that is, non-traditional, in my opinion. In my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it's all interconnected, especially with social media at this point. I mean, you can get a hold of people you never really would have. I mean, I'm several states away. The chances of me running into you, very, very slim.
I mean, unless we, ran into each other like the Blue Oyster or like a local truck stop while I was passing through. I mean, the one. But, I'll echo that sentiment, because I think, social media for us, we became keen on its power and really made best efforts to leverage and weaponize that power in the name of commercializing our brand and maintaining connectivity with both existing, brand supporters and loyalists, and courting new potential devotees to the brand, get our message out there, reach out and touch people more effectively, and, whereas I used to be on a 200, 150 to 200 plus live event activation cycle around domestically every year, just for this part of our business. In the beginning, now, I can plug into, any one of the hyper supportive clubs, smoking clubs that favor our brand, and meet with 20 people, 30 people, 10 people, 50 people, whatever it is,
Yeah.
from all around the country, and every one of those evolutions that I participate in, I always kind of do a head count. And as I'm chatting with everybody, I like to dig in on, hey, where they're from. And, many times I do the cigar math, quietly in my mind. And I realize very quickly, like, hey, this hour and a half of my life on this, participating in this connectivity exercise would have been a year of my life in 2009. And by the way, I still probably wouldn't have touched each one of these people, because even if I came to their town and went to their local shop, they might have been, Gran might have been sick. They might have been on vacation. They might have
Yeah.
had to work the late shift that night,
Right.
So it is truly, if you got your wits about you, and you have the the ability to connect with folks in that fashion, man, I mean, it's a phenomenal weapon,
Yeah. So it's a great tool, so you can go straight to your consumer with
100%.
everything. Yeah. I mean, you can just, instead of waiting for feedback to get back to you, it can be instant with people like what you're doing or don't what you're doing, or how much that train you have behind you still is there. It's not a guess. You can see it instantly.
Well, man, and I mean, like I said before, I mean, nothing is ever going to completely delete the potency of a real handshake and a real shared moment in person.
Yeah.
Right. I believe that, but when you're talking about volume beyond what mortal man, woman, mortal being can sustain into perpetuity, here we go. This is now those physical meat moments become supplementary to the digital. And I think that there's a healthy balance to that, man. And more than anything for me, I've always been a champion of the idea that if people are assigning themselves to my brand or my products, or spending their money on my products, that it's my responsibility, to the best of my ability, to connect with them and show them with whom they are investing.
Yeah.
And what the philosophies of the brand and brand owner are, what we stand for, who we are, that's my personal take on it. I mean, other people might not feel that way, but I definitely feel, assigned to the responsibility that I and maybe I impose it on myself, but I feel that it's my responsibility to show these people, to give these people enough of an understanding with whom they're fucking with, to understand, where their money is being spent,
foster
and
that
to let them know
connection.
that I'm fucking grateful for it too, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I mean, you're actually involved. You're incredibly involved with your own brand, more than just, I have this and I can kick back and this is you still.
Well, man, I mean, look, I don't really know if or when the kickback will occur,
Sure.
I mean, technically anybody could do that at any point.
Yeah.
I just feel like, well, I mean, it's like a savage cocaine addiction. I just can't stop myself. And I feed off of it, actually. And, for me, even just on a personal note, I rather enjoy it. I enjoy being connected with people in our community, and I enjoy sharing those moments. And I like to communicate, man. I mean, look, it's not something, I've been able to, is my light flashing? It's flashing.
Flickering a little bit, yeah.
It's like I'm in the bathroom of a haunted house.
I mean, you might be.
Fuck.
You did mention that truck stop bathroom. It just might be where you are.
You know the one. Now, but also, like I said, people, how should I explain this? A lot of times people in the business and even, supporters and whatnot, I'd say it's a somewhat commonly asked question, hey, Booth, do you ever just get tired of this shit? And I mean, physically, I've been tired for 20 years running my own business, man. I'm tired as fuck. But
Yeah.
I'm also far more energized and throttled than I am physically tired. And for me, whether or not I say it directly, I think being present in the moment with folks communicates, a level of gratitude. You know, I'm able to give my son a life that I could have never even dreamt of at his age, and it's
Sure.
because of their support. So for me, I'm showing up to say thank you whenever I can.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, some people are just, they're makers. If you're not making something, what are you going to do? That's a question that, they're like, they talked about retirement and they're like, well, you got to plan for this and plan for that so you can just be done. I'm like, if I was just done, I wouldn't know what to do with myself at that point. That's just,
I would find something, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. With what you have, all that you have going on, that's what my next question would be is, how do you stay passionate? Are there times where you're trying to find inspiration, or is it just always oozing out of you?
The inspiration component, like the creative component, are the things that are like organically just kind of like a faucet that's flowing for me. The ideas are what keep me awake at night. And quite frankly, even, back in the day when our business was only jewelry, before we got into tobacco, I used to tell people that, hey, creating and designing is, the business, commercializing my work is to support the vice of creation so I can continue to make more designs.
Keep making.
And that was really what I loved. And I still love it, man. I still love making shit to this day. It's one of my favorite. It's like, it's a therapeutic process for me,
If you could only pick one,
madness.
Which way would you go? You could only do cigars.
I should have been a fireman.
Fireman?
Absolutely, I should have been a fireman. My rack mate in boot camp, Aaron Best, he was going into crash fire rescue. And it took him, years, lived with his parents, went to paramedic school. He did Marine Reserve. I was active duty. So he, but by the time I got out, he was a fireman in Southern California, which is a very, very, a difficult thing to get into. And, what a phenomenal life, consistent income, enough to invest, get you some rental properties, get your passive income flowing in your early to mid 20s. I mean, it's like solid platinum,
Yeah.
I've been chasing my dick for 25 years, I mean, professionally speaking.
Right. Yeah. A fireman instead of anything else. Yeah.
I mean, should have been a fireman.
Yeah. I mean, especially instead of California.
It's a firefighter now.
Firefighter. Gotcha. Yeah.
Firefighter.
I mean, that's right in front. Every year the Chino Hills catch on fire. That's just what it is. Yeah.
Well, it's fire season, man. It starts to happen everywhere now.
Mm-hmm.
You're in Chino?
No. I'm originally from Riverside, but I'm in Texas.
Okay. Well, then 909. Where are you at in Texas?
Fort Worth.
Okay, cool, man. I like Texas a lot. We've considered San Antonio quite a bit.
Really?
For our future. Yeah, I love San Antonio. I got a lot of good friends there. And I love the city. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's an interesting place. I dig it. There's a lot. People don't realize how big and how many different areas there are of Texas. I think it's all just the one big thing.
Yeah, well, Texas is cool, man, because all these different areas have their own unique culture, right?
Yeah.
And so you can, if you're vibe hunting and you're looking to land in a place that, the culture feels like home, you have, I mean, every vibe you could probably want to, seek is there in some way,
You just got to drive up and down and you'll run through all of it. Mm-hmm. We have Houston, which is basically LA. You got Austin, which is a different part of LA. Like, you just go up and down. It's an interesting state for sure.
I like Texas.
Well, how do you believe storytelling is important when it comes to cigars?
I mean, I definitely think it's part of the deal. And I think that it's, the people that are consuming your product are more receptive to the substance that's behind a product, and that could be the substance of the creation of the actual product.
Yeah.
And it could be the substance, like I said before, of your, your brand proposition, or what you stand for personally, or, any, combination of those elements, right?
Yeah,
So
sure.
yeah, I think that it is.
Yeah,
I believe so.
I think it can add another layer to not just what you're doing, but the product behind it, the whatever product you're pushing. I mean, the whole story of your Johnny Appleseed cigar. I mean, people wouldn't get that's what it was, but that's what it is. But you just like space better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, man, I mean, you're funny when because like the creative process isn't always just raw creativity. In many cases, especially as you're commercializing your vision, you must leverage creativity to continue to operate and bring your vision to market in the face of, challenges that start to pop up on the business side, right?
Gotcha.
And I mean, the initial sentiment for Johnny Tobacconaut was Johnny Tobacco Seed, right? Because I was traveling the country and the world, spreading the seeds of our message to whoever would listen, and then it turned out some company had that trademark, never used in market, of course, whatever, but our American trademark system is fucked at best. So I just said, I'm not even going to bother with that. And why can't it just be in fucking space? And then Johnny Tobacconaut was born. Even cooler. So he was spawned from a challenge that I had to navigate and hope to, or make best efforts to continue to communicate the original sentiment that I was looking for, that I was trying to drive.
A new way to tell an old story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's wonderful. It's a cool little guy you created too. I like that. I was looking at the jewelry and all that. It's fun that you tie everything together so that people who like one part of the industry maybe follow the other.
Yeah, man. I mean, I try to create a comprehensive offering of products that are also cohesive,
Definitely. In the cigar industry, who's your favorite person to work with besides yourself?
My favorite person?
Yeah.
I've made so many great friends in this business, and there's so many people that I respect their ability to connect with the art and craft of cigar making, their ability to lead in a business capacity. There are, some industry vets that have been nothing short of brothers and mentors to me over the years. I don't know if it would be fair to
say
call
just
out one person.
All right.
I don't believe it would be fair or honest, to be honest with you.
Makes sense. You don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, Well,
it's not about that. If I'm going to be honest, man, I can't just choose one. Yeah. It's too bad.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like you said, it's the human connections that you make along the way.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
That's wonderful.
And to quote an industry veteran that you may have actually not heard of, because like I said, a cigar lifespan is 3 to 5 years. But to quote a very fine gentleman of business that I had the privilege of working with when I came into the space, Mr. Sal Fontana, he said, and I quote, and by the way, he used to call me Dracula because my hair used to be black. And he said, Dracula, this is a whore's business. A whore's business. Never forget it.
Yeah.
So there you go.
There you go. A whore's business.
We're happy hookering together.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's shilling something. Kind of the way that it goes.
How did you get into this?
To making content itself or cigars in general?
Cigars, what's your deal? What's your story?
Yeah. So I got into this. I mean, I started a little Instagram page kind of just for myself. Right during COVID, I picked up cigars by accident. I had owned my own design business. I wanted to do a photo shoot, but my wife was against cigars, so I had an e-cigar. Started working for a company, and I used that picture as the profile. And there was an older gentleman there who loved cigars and he loved photography. I love both those two things. He started giving me cigars. The first cigar I smoked, I hated. I had it like sit for a week, and just on a table somewhere. Had no way to cut it. Anyway, long story short, I started getting into it more during COVID. Just started a channel. Figured, no one's gonna watch. Maybe I get 100 people to watch the channel. Right. Little goal. 100 people watch the channel. All right, maybe I can get it so that I never have to pay for cigars. I can smoke for free. That happened real fast. I'm like, all right. So now I'm just inching my way trying to get a stupid silver play button, and along the way, meeting a ton of great people and just having a good time. And I've seen that a lot of the cigar industry is kind of boring. So I want to try and liven it up a little bit.
Man, I'm not going to lie. As a disruptor by nature, and a brand builder coming into this space, I saw it as nothing short of an absolute target-rich environment to activate ideas,
Sure,
and play my story out on this stage.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say it's boring. I think there's excitement, man. I think that and by the way.
Yeah.
By the way, I think a lot of the, well, no, I'm just going to say, if you were to look at tried and true, stoically traditional brands as boring, I would encourage you to look at them as, the foundation of everything that came from them.
Yes, absolutely. Right? Yeah.
Like you could fill in the blanks of all the, the family owned brand entities, some charging forward at over 100 years old at this point, without them, there could be no me. There could be no Pete Johnson. There could be, there would be, as the Brits say, fuck all.
Yeah.
In the craft segment.
I was sitting with my at the time she was an infant, my second born, and I'm rocking her in the chair, and I'm watching these cigar videos, and I'm like, there's a lot of great artists and talents, and they're just, some voices are not as loud as others, so we could be, not raise a little hell, but maybe turn the volume up a little bit on some of these things and highlight some more of these fun things.
Well, I like
and that's what we started to do, and that's what originally trying to get you on the live show with me and the new wave boys that I was with. That's kind of what we were doing is just talking about more of the excitement in the industry and shaking some things up and pissing some people off along the way, and it's been kind of fun back and forth, but it's been an interesting kind of little ride. I mean, it's
man,
fun.
I mean, I'm honored that you would want to have me on your show, man. I mean, I like the conversation. It's a testament to, hey man, even after, multiple cigar lifetimes, people still want to dial in and see what the fuck I'm up to. So that's great.
Yeah. Well, and it's fun for me because the last person I talked to was Herklots, and I only know what people.
God damn, that's a good looking man.
Yeah.
I love that.
Great. Dude. And I knew nothing about him. So then same thing with you. Like I kind of surface level, no senior interviews. No, not too much. Cause I don't dive too much into people, but in doing so, you learn more about their life stories. You learn more about what the passion that they have behind the product that they're creating. And there's some people that, they're just businessmen, but other are artists and they're storytellers. And I think there's so much more of that in this industry that I kind of want to help highlight the best way that I can.
Michael Herklots was one of the first people in this industry to welcome me into the game as a fucking gentleman, and I will never forget it. And by the way, when I was coming into the business, I was not overly welcomed, you have to understand.
I'm sure.
I fought my way into this space. And you know what, man, and as a testament to the way that it was then, well, I'll say two things. One is, as a newcomer, having this brand vision, wanting to translate / port it over into premium combustible and actually adopt that category into our brand, because it was my forever vision for Room 101 as a multi-category lifestyle brand. But I think a lot of the full-time dedicated players that were less than aware of me, they're, and rightfully so, very protective of their industry.
Sure.
And it was almost as if, hey, it's like you show up at the house, and their attitude towards me coming into the business was, not unlike me coming to pick up their little sister for like prom, right? It's like, what are your intentions?
Yeah.
What are your intentions with my sister? What are your intentions with this industry that I've dedicated my life to, and that I love very much? And by the way, in time, as we got to know each other, I, had the privilege of earning their respect, or at least I would have the indication that I did to a degree. And I, made my place in this business for the long haul too, But Michael Herklotz welcomed me instantaneously, and I won't forget that. I actually remember I remember the moment.
No, right.
On the trade show floor in New Orleans. I remember it. He came up to me smoking part of a Davidonian culebra and chatted to me. It was like a mystical man in fine slacks.
Yeah. Yeah, he was telling me all the different suits he used to wear, and pinstripes and paisleys. I'm like, that's great,
God, bro.
That's wonderful.
It gets hard to travel, bro. That dude would have like 5 wardrobe changes at a trade show.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, whoa. But I mean, he made a point.
It's something you're in a sea of shades of brown, stand out. I mean, that's just what it is. I think that's great. I think it's great to be more of an individual, but at the same time, respect what came before you,
Well, I mean, and I think that reads, right? Like, I think that people get that. Like, if they're able, and dude, I've had moments where I've sat with, old school guys that we didn't know each other, right? And, and a lot of people sit down at the table with preconceived notions, but I promise you, man, when you stand up from the table with me, you're going to know who the fuck I am, genuinely. And and by the way, I am delightful. However, not everyone is for everyone, but, I don't think that I've had a moment where, I've had an interaction like that, not unlike like a capability meeting between two companies, right? But it's more of like a personal, like a character assessment amongst gentlemen of business, right?
Definitely.
And, I think that I, have a pretty healthy scorecard in that department.
Definitely. Yeah.
I mean, there's think so. Maybe I'm just being full of myself. What do I know?
For some people, you're not going to get along innately, pheromones or whatever gets along. But I found sometimes some of those are the most powerful relationships for creation. You might not be the best of friends, but you can create great things together.
Well, look, man, Paula Abdul said opposites attract, bro. And she wasn't wrong.
That's very true. It's very true, man. Uh-huh. What's something about this industry that you hate?
Man, hate's a pretty strong fucking word, man.
It is.
And for an industry and a platform that's offered me the opportunity to, at one stage, years ago, basically save my business, to allowing me the breadth, a cut of swath across the terrain to authentically put my roots down, man. I find it hard to assign hate to the business, right? I think that people behave poorly in business sometimes and use business as a way out of taking personal responsibility for shortfall in character based on their behavior. But I don't think that it's the business. I think that that's a human issue.
Yeah. Human qualities.
And that's business across all fronts,
Definitely.
You know the saying, you shouldn't do business with your friends? Have you ever heard somebody say that to you?
Yes, I do.
Well, I happen to completely fucking disagree with that statement. I think that you shouldn't fuck your friends over in business. And when you're predisposed to behaving badly in business, you reveal yourself to people that thought they were your friends. It has nothing to do with not doing business with your friends. It has to do with behaving honorably when money is involved,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like something you've been involved in the past, perhaps.
Look, man, David has beat Goliath in my story many times, my man. And I've earned my stripes in this space and many others. And, you know, it's that, I think, for me, is probably the most fatiguing, both, I mean, like on a spiritual level, on a
Yeah.
human level, like those types of disappointments, they carry a lot of gravity. If you got a lot of heart, man, like if you're a maniacal, heartless fuck that would just, you know, that stuff doesn't register or carry any value,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't even notice it. You'd just keep moving. But, you know, I think that's been one of the most fatiguing elements of my journey in business. And, you know, as a dear friend of mine in San Antonio would say, I've been through so much, but we all have in our own ways, you know, and it's part of the journey. And, you know, what are we going to do? We're going to lay down, you know, like the other option is to lay down and, you know, stop. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, I don't think you really know who you are till you've gone through tragedy. I don't think that's a huge part of defining what you do in life, in your own way, in relationships you've had, in marriages that you've gone through. I think people jump into things without ever going through some type of a death, a sickness, something horrible, and then when the shit hits the fan, they panic.
Well, everybody internalizes everything they go through differently, right?
Sure.
It's an individual thing, right? We mentioned that earlier. So
yeah,
it all hits different, man, you know?
Definitely.
But anybody in this business that's been in this business, you know, for more than a cigar lifetime is all wearing wounds from their business. That, by the way, you know, I mean, it's not necessary to talk about. And by the way, you shouldn't take people to peek behind the curtain or meet the wizard or whatever it is, and, you know, because it sours things. You have to stay in front of that, and you have to lead with positivity. You have to be, you know, unkillable, you know.
Yeah. The immovable object and the unstoppable force.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So the thing that you love and the thing that you hate is the way that people interact, essentially.
Yeah. The human component of it. I mean, look.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed cigars. I always had a vision that somehow in a dream state, in a dreamscape, that premium cigars would be part of our brand's offering globally, right? So achieve. Yeah, I mean, my chief brand inspiration just for architecture was and is and probably forever will be Alfred Dunhill. But like Alfred Dunhill of 1965, you know, jet set gentleman and gentle lady of leisure's global luxury brand, you know, multi-class, multi-category, anything that you want, they'll make it, and they'll make it in the finest fashion in a way that they just don't make it anymore, you know, on purpose, right?
Yeah.
And that was the vision that I had for Room 101. You know, how could the Alfred Dunhill of 1965, what would it look like by 2025? And built by me, you know? So, you know, and now by 2025, we have our our tripod of goods established and commercialized around the world, and drinkable, smokable, and wearable, you know?
Yeah.
And all craft, like craft manufacture, you know, I mean, even, you know, on the jewelry side of our business, I mean, we run an intimate but capable manufacturing facility at the corner of 7th and Broadway, downtown LA. And that's where I've been casting my wares since 2000, my man, and learning that craft, you know? So, yeah, man, I mean, it's been a journey. And I think that the two things, you are right, that you were I've never really thought of it that way. But you nailed it. Like, one of the reasons, or the chief reason, that I fell in love with the cigar business was the community and the culture. I fell madly in love with that. And it was unexpected.
Yeah.
I didn't anticipate that.
Yeah.
Being the upside bonus, you know, that was going to be tethered to this mission to build and grow my brand in this new world, you know? And, I fell madly in love with that. Still am,
Yeah.
And then in time, also business comes and people behave in certain ways and all that. And so there are two sides to that blade.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I never thought 5 years ago I'd be sitting here on a Saturday talking to some guy that bakes cigars and jewelry. Like, but never would this have been.
That's a cigar lifetime, bro.
Yeah.
5 years is a fully baked. You're like it's you've been into cigars for 100 years at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe 75.
70. I'll
It's
take
not an
75.
exact science. It's not an
Sure.
exact science.
That's
Cigar years.
The first
like
time
dog
I've heard the
years.
term. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little more though. It's like 10 to 1 versus, what is it, 1 to 7, I believe.
Something along those lines, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting space. I think I'd agree with you in the same way. It's the people. That's why I've continued to do this. Like, I like cigars and they're fun. Yeah, but if there wasn't that component to it, I wouldn't be here.
Well, bro, think about how inspiring it is for, an aspiring brand builder, or a creative, where you can create a product and for, for I'm not going to say a nominal amount of money, but a realistic sum of money for a regular workaday person, if they wanted to invest their shekels in that direction, you could place a product on shelves that were next to 100-year-old generationally owned family brand, and brands that sell millions of cigars a year. And based on the merit of your product and your message and your character, you could actually have a fighting chance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's inspiring. I was very taken by that too, in the beginning. I remember being in cigar stores and looking at our, 4 facings that were on the shelf and thinking like, wow, what if someday we could like fill a shelf,
right,
with our product? And I would look at because Dion's shit was always like super crispy, super uniform. Like you could see it from across the humidor, very cohesive, right? And brilliantly constructed products too. And I'd see his products like filling a shelf, and I'd be like, wow, what a presence.
Yeah.
What if someday, like,
that could be you.
We make a go of this and I could fill up a shelf with my imagery, my product concepts, and, and fucking there you go.
Yeah.
You're not going to start a brand of tires and just immediately clip market share from Firestone tomorrow. You know what I mean? That's just not going to happen. But in this world, it's possible, and there's something to be said for how energizing that can be for someone.
Yeah, that's why I love finding, because I small brands will send me cigars to check out, and I'll tell them like, hey, I'm gonna be honest, and if it's terrible, I'm gonna tell people it's terrible, but it's fun when it's great, and I can tell people, hey, this thing you've never heard of is really, really good, and you can try it, and it's wonderful to see that reaction gets known, because in a world where there wasn't social media, that would be even harder to do. But to go watch these brands grow, it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Hey man, it cost a lot of flights, a lot of lifetime, a lot of years shaved off the lifespan.
Yeah,
that's what it would cost. It was you were the human machine, and you still have to be, but you have this other, digital advantage now.
Yeah,
to get your message out there.
And hopefully with the amount that you've established, you have more time to spend with your family, more time to see your son, and that's what that afforded you. Yeah, that was one of the reasons, honestly, that I kept pursuing it. Is that you it looked like you had a decent balance, because there's a lot of people where this is it, this is them, and the amount of humanity that you show is one of the reasons that I wanted to talk to you just in general.
Well, man, I mean, it's like I said before, like what you see is what you get, man. I'm not trying to, adopt some kind of character.
Sure.
I mean, I am a fucking character naturally. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that, it's my responsibility to give people as authentic a glimpse, I mean, it's funny, right? Like, because I care, I give a fuck. Right. And so like, even at a trade show, like I'll be with a couple of my dudes and they'll be bitching about like, don't go to the fucking bathroom with Booth because it'll take an hour to walk there because he's going to talk to everybody. And he's not just going to say hi to him. He's going to sit there and talk to him for 10 minutes about your kid and the thing that you told me about that you were trying to do last time I saw you,
Right.
and, all this shit. And they'll, I'll talk to somebody for 15 minutes and like, Jesus Christ, man, like, can't you just like shine these dudes on and go to the bathroom? And they're like, look, man, they're talking to me.
Yeah.
We're having an exchange here. Like if I just said, yeah, hey, great, bye. It's
Right.
fucking rude, man. So,
Yeah.
and I treat people in the, when we're, at a, for example, like doing an in-store or whatever, I always, and I always like get down on myself because there'll be somebody that I see that I
Yeah.
didn't fucking make it to on my rotation because I was 20 minutes here and, and they've left. And I'm like, I fucking missed sharing a moment with that person or that group. But I mean, you can't do it all, but genuinely
Sure.
that's my, my system is just to remain connected.
Yeah.
It feels natural,
Yeah. And well,
Now,
that's what makes,
sometimes I have to piss, and when I really have to piss, I have my phone. I'm like, yep, and I bathroom because sometimes the trade show, man. I mean, you end the day and you're like, I did not urinate one time
yeah.
all day. I had no
Just
time.
stood there dehydrating yourself all day long.
Good God, man.
Yeah.
Woof.
Yeah. I've only done one cigar trade show. I've been in a lot of trade shows and industries, but even then, I'm just like, this is a lot of just alcohol and tobacco, and people just
In your face.
turn into jerky
Just-
while trying to talk to someone. Yeah.
Just put it in. Yeah.
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 Wow. That's awesome, man. And that's again like the human component, the realness of it all, the storytelling. That's what I think is so great about this industry specifically. There's so much to it. Everyone's got a story in life in general, and I think more need to be told with cigars. Not just here, this is new. It's got this, and that in it. Here, I think that's so boring.
Well, look, man, there's a level of substance in this community that I don't think can ever be euthanized, And I mean, I've watched like underground subculture communities change dramatically. Tattoo is a great example of that, right?
Yeah.
You would have, in the 90s, you would have thought old school tattoo culture, totally unchangeable, unfuckwithable,
Yeah.
And then came television, and then tattoo went on TV, and then, and I remember standing around in a very known tattoo shop in the 90s when I was in the Marines talking to the guys, and I want to say, well, maybe it was like 2000, bro. Whenever the first, and there's a correlation here that I'm going to attempt to make, at least I think. When did they put that first show on Hart and Huntington? It was in Vegas. It was the motocross guy.
Sure.
Carrie Hart, and they had the show. You know what I'm talking about? Do you remember that?
Yeah. Familiar, but I don't know the date. But yeah.
I mean, it was like late 90s, early 2000s, right? Let's just say that bracket, right? And I mean, these guys were standing around talking about, man, they're putting tattoo on TV. They're talking about our prices. We're going to get audited. It's cash business, and mind you, and also a very controlled business. Like you just didn't open up a tattoo shop, right? This was not the process at the time.
Gotcha.
And I told them now, and by the way, in that world, I don't make tattoos, but I definitely have an affinity for the art form and a respect for it that goes beyond just walking in and getting like a butterfly in my butt crack.
Right.
Can't even get a butterfly in my butt crack because I got a bodysuit. It's already stuffed in my butt crack, non-butterfly related. But I could have a conversation and not have my mouth slapped for saying something out of process, right? And I told him, I said, man, if tattoo is on TV today, I said in 20 years, tattoo shops are going to be like Starbucks.
Yeah.
And they looked at me like it was blasphemous what I said, but at the same time, they knew it was coming from through my lens and with respect, obviously.
Yeah.
And now, you go forward 20 years and fucking tattoo shops are like Starbucks. And I watch some of the, the podcast type shows with artists that I've known for a long time, and they're sitting there talking about the way that it used to be and how their community has, some of the core pillars of what was so enticing for them to join that community and earn their way into that community, in a lot of ways have dissolved in the forthcoming generations, right? I believe that those things are alive and well because those guys are alive and well, and there's a duality going on there. But, there's big money in tattoo now, man. I mean, there are VC groups that are coming and spending crazy money to do these tattoo conventions. And I mean, a friend of mine recently sold his tattoo machine company for like, a significant fucking amount of money, right? So there's money in tattoo. Now it's an industry,
Yeah.
So with evolution comes, the good and the challenges. And that occurs in our space too. I just believe that there are certain components of our culture that are hardwired so deeply into Latin America that they are unchangeable.
Right.
They are unchangeable, and I like that. That makes me feel very fucking comfortable. Because I can disrupt till I'm blue in the face, but I'm not changing those core genetics, nor is anyone, by the way.
Yeah. The kind of the base of the industry will remain, which kind of keeps the industry somewhat, at least not pure, but authentic.
I mean, I would echo that to a degree. Yeah. I just think that there are these beautiful, it's like the files are locked, like like some of it just simply is without the ability to change genetics. It is immovable, and so that's something that I think for, guys that have, I mean, fuck, I don't even know what to call it. Maybe a traditionalist mindset or old school mindset or however you want to call it. Like that's something that is like a beautiful pink bunty that they snuggle bunnies up with at night and suck their thumb, drift off into their tobacco dreamscape, knowing that at least they have that level of security in this investment that they've given their heart and soul to.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, you wouldn't want the industry to change its core. You'd want it to stay what it is, because then it's not what you fell in love with.
And dude, and look, man, there are, all sorts of evolutionary steps that have taken place. I mean, look at the way that non-Cuban products have been slowly, and although albeit with a great deal of resistance and skepticism, still continue to take the stage more and more globally every day. And we have people that have assigned themselves to evangelizing. They call them New World products, right? Like not non-Cuban products. And because quite frankly, when I started, I felt that there was no better time to be a cigar smoker than when I started, because of the access to different tobaccos and the ability to create, provocative blend compositions that challenge tradition, traditional formats and mixtures and things like that. And every year that is one thing that has consistently not only remained present, but continued to be a perpetually growing force is that the evolution of the continued escalation in the quality and variety of product.
Yeah.
And it's simply undeniable. I mean, you take the Pepsi challenge with a product that comes out of William Ventura's facility or Hoya de Nicaragua. And I mean, that's just, you could go down the list. I'm just using these as examples. They're fucking exceptional.
Yeah.
They're literally exceptional. And they're artisans that are commercializing their handmade art, and I quite frankly think that they're artisans before they're manufacturers, although they are very competent, capable manufacturers simultaneously.
Yeah.
Their production is also an art form,
Definitely.
But you take the Pepsi challenge with a traditional Cuban product and their product, and I mean, you could just sit down. Forget it. There is no Pepsi challenge,
Yeah.
It's undeniable.
Yeah, I think it's great. So, what's the new next thing people should know about for Room 101? Like, what are you currently pushing?
I mean, look, man. I mean, we're looking to dive deep into our, all of our brand categories of goods, looking to expand their commercialization into new channels. This is something that is a forever assignment for us, but this year, you'll see some movement to that regard. At least that's my hope. That's my charge. And on the combustible side, I mean, Room 101 goes global this year. We go full bore into EU and some of the next door neighboring countries that have appetite for our product. We go into Asia Pacific, hot and horny. Like it's going to be with the flip of a light switch, we take one more sturdy step towards Room 101 Cigars becoming what my vision is that it becomes a global craft brand.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Well, and then you got a call, so I'll let you go if that works for you, man. But I appreciate your time here to get you hanging out.
No, man. Thanks for the time, bro. I mean, look, man, I don't want to cut it short. If there's anything that you're, you've been edging yourself out to ask.
No, honestly, I don't look up. Like, I have a list of questions if there was awkward dead air, but I didn't have any plans. There's no plans going into. I don't want to pull any information out from you. I want to have simple, interesting conversations with people. That's the whole goal.
That's good medicine right there.
Yeah.
It's been a good Saturday morning.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate the time. Yeah. Appreciate finally being able to talk with you. One last little question. Who do you think the next person is I should try and get on this kind of conversation with show?
You know who would be interesting for you to talk to, honestly?
Who's that?
Is Justin Andrews.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you why.
All right.
I find myself in the midst of a frantic stress scramble. I'm rebuilding our cigar business from point zero after creating a significant amount of momentum over 8 years with a much larger scale distribution. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm visiting a retailer that I had known 8-9 years at that point, and trying to peddle my wares honestly to them. And right by their cash register, I see a point of sale display for Diesel cigars. Now, at the time, this was like 2000. I want to say. Hear me now.
Good.
Note taken. Use the do not disturb fucking function. Sorry.
Switch, yeah. No, you're good, man.
So there's a point of sale display for Diesel cigars right next to the cash register. Okay. And as I'm trying to sell them my William Ventura made craft product, right, that I'd worked so hard to develop with those guys, the store owner is encouraging me. I asked him, I said, hey man, what's up with this? I just want to know. I want to hear what he's got to say. I'm like, what's going on with this brand, man? How do you like that? How's that doing for you? And they're like, man, we love this brand. It's great. Which, by the way, the quality of the product is fantastic. AJ makes a great deal of that, but it was a CI brand. I walked out of that fucking store and I picked up the phone and I called Justin, who, by the way, I had known since my, first couple months in the business.
Okay.
And I told him, I was like, my man, I don't know how the fuck you did this, but from me, everything that I've been through, everything that I've done with my brand, I said, you need some credit right now, and I'm calling to give it to you because you have effectively ported a brand entity from the devil themselves. Now, granted, CI is now a far more welcomed and accepted part of the business. It's not the climate that it was at the time, right? But at the time, it was very contentious, brick and mortar versus online, right? Like extremely contentious, okay?
Yeah.
For a myriad of reasons, we don't need to get into it. My point is that for a traditional brick and mortar retailer to be touting the fact that they were very excited about having this brand at brick and mortar was fucking exceptional to me. And that had to come from a marketing mind. Like, how are we going to navigate this water to port this and offer this at brick and mortar successfully and effectively? I think to this date, other than like our brand not going up in a ball of fucking hellfire and flames, this is probably one of the grandest accomplishments of any marketer in the history of this fucking business, and you can fucking quote me, bro. So I think that, and I think that guys that took the path of working for larger companies in some way, shape, or form, to some people, this like deletes the gravity of their accomplishment because, they work for a big company. Well, they're 99% of the folks in the business wouldn't have the wherewithal or the capability to fill his shoes on a daily basis, right? So I think that it would be an interesting exercise. You because from what I gather from you're interested in like some of the driving forces in the craft world or personalities in the business. And I think that dude has a really unique, I mean, he's a friend, right? But also I think on a professional tip has done some highly impressive fucking shit. And like to talk to him about that feat of magic itself would be, I think, interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Justin Andrews. Yeah.
It is fuzzy. This is a fuzzy facial hair. You'll see.
Okay. Will do.
Yes. It's great.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate the time, man. Appreciate the time.
My man. You take it easy, bro. Thanks for the time. Appreciate
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
See you around.
Peace.
He's pumping and laughing, cool as can be. Slick shades on with a joke for free. Blowing smoke rings, cracking wise. Cigars and hot takes, no alibis. Late night vibes, he's running the show. Light it up, it's time to roll. Welcome to the infamous talk show, you know the name. Pick Jimi's in the building, ready to light the flame. From cigars to the stories, we're keeping it live. With every puff of smoke, the vibe will arrive. A seat at the table, no filter, just real. This is where it's at, where the vibe's the deal. Let the good times flow, let the conversation grow. Pick Jimi's got the hottest takes to show. From the lounge to the mic, we talk it all. Big cigars, high stakes, we standing tall. Late night discussions, we speaking the truth. Real talk for the grown with wisdom and youth. Pass the drinks, let's vibe, it's a mood. Infamous talk show where legends collide and groove. Pick Jimi's got the vision, no need for a script. This ain't just a show, it's a movement equipped. Let the good times flow, let the conversation grow. Pick Jimi's got the hottest takes to show. From the lounge to the mic, we talk it all. Big cigars, high stakes, we standing tall. So light it up, let the conversation roll. The infamous talk shows take control.